Hi there, this is Celia Hamilton. I'm the Strategic Planning Manager for SocialBizUG.org, and with me today is Joe Linehan. Joe is a certified client technology professional with IBM. He is currently focused on cloud-based collaboration and integration into on-premise systems. Joe is also the speaker at the New England Lotus User Group's next meeting, which is July 23rd. Joe, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone today.
So at the aforementioned New England LUG meeting, you're going to give two presentations. One of those presentations is on Sametime 852 technical deployment strategies. Can you talk about what the biggest change to Sametime deployment is in this release, and if there's anything in 852 that might surprise admins?
Sure, yeah. There's actually quite a bit to talk about here. People may refer to this as, the new Sametime 852, but actually the term new is relative. Sametime 852 has been in market for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the whole 85X architecture has been out there for a few years now. Mm-hmm. So for the purposes of this discussion, though, many admins are currently running on Sametime 80X. So for them, there's going to be a lot of new stuff to look at here. And as mentioned earlier, there's actually a new architecture to Sametime 85X. And the key differences are that in 80X and prior, everything was built on the Domino server. So you stood up a Domino server, you installed Sametime, and everything you did was from that single server or clustered servers, whatever the case may be. So, for example, you had chat, presence awareness, you did web meetings from that, and then if you were so bold, you may have tried to do some audiovisual support from that server, which most customers found was not that efficient, so they didn't really bother. Now, fast forward a bit to when we introduced to Sametime 8.5 and the subsequent releases of 8.5.1 and 8.5.2, and you'll still have a familiar Domino server for the chat server, or also known as community server, but the other services within Sametime are built on a new platform. I shouldn't say new. Built
new
on
to this audience.
New to this audience, right. Thanks for pointing that out. Yep. And that platform is the WebSphere application server. So for things like the web meetings, the audiovisual support, mobile device support, those components are based on what we call WAS, or WebSphere application server. Now, the next question might be, what do you get for this new architecture? Quite a bit, actually, but, just to point out a couple of things. First, you get a new modern web meeting interface that is extremely fast, and I think that's really key, is web meeting performance. Some of our, older web meeting users may remember the days of clicking on a web meeting and taking upwards of a minute, 2 minutes just for the web meeting to start. Now a web meeting is measured in seconds, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5, maybe 10 seconds at most. And the other thing is that you get persistent meeting rooms, so users don't actually have to go ahead and schedule meetings prior to it, so they can do ad hoc meetings on the fly. And then beyond that, the materials they use in the meeting, like documents and even chats within the meeting, they reside in the meeting room, so the attendees can access those either during the meeting or even sometime after the meeting. A couple of other things that you'll get in this new architecture are the audiovisual capabilities are far superior to those in 80X. So as I mentioned a moment ago, you may have tried a bit of audiovisual in 80X and decided it wasn't very good, so you didn't even bother with it. Now, it performs so good, you can have high-def video in there if your infrastructure can support it. And then the last thing to mention about that is full mobile device support for chat in meetings, and even unified communications if you add into that space. So the mobile device becomes kind of a premier platform for Sametime in 85X as opposed to a secondary afterthought. And that's really kind of part of our overall strategy now. So that's it. That's kind of the big changes and what's new in Sametime 85X.
Yeah, those sound like really great, important changes and upgrades. So that's very exciting. And then the second presentation that you're going to give at the New England Lug meeting is entitlements for Domino 853 and Domino 9. And I hear a lot about free entitlement when it comes to connections, but not so much when it comes to Domino. So can you share a couple of Domino entitlements that you're most excited about, and let us know if there's one that people don't know they should be taking advantage of?
Sure, yeah. Actually, this is a great question because entitlements is one of the least understood yet potentially most beneficial assets of being a Domino customer. Yeah, exactly. And
it's free.
It's free, yeah, exactly. Now, well, dovetailing off the previous question, I'm going to assume, but I'll state the obvious, that active notes customers are entitled to use chat and presence awareness of Sametime at no charge, right? So in other words, you can stand up a same-time community service so all your notes users can instant message with each other. The other stuff that I talk about, like web meetings and AV and mobile devices and all that, you have to buy licenses for that.
Right.
But for all the chatting services, that's free, right? That's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. The other thing that I think is pretty cool because some of our competition requires this as a separately paid for add-in, and that's mobile device support. So the next in the key list of entitlements is Traveler. Every notes user can access their mail through a mobile device if you set up a Traveler server. Now, to be clear, if you do set up a Traveler server on a standalone Domino server, you may need to buy some Domino PDUs for that server, depending on what your organization entitled to use. But that's it. There's no additional charges, I should say, to use mobile device support to get your mail, your calendar, your contacts, and so on. So it's, once again, free stuff is good, right? And there's one more thing that's actually the most recent and arguably the most exciting addition to the Notes entitlement list is the use of files and profiles from our Connections software offering. So similar to Sametime, we can stand up a server to do chat. We can stand up a connection server to provide a file repository as well as profile information for every user in your organization. And one of the cool things about it is that we provide a plug-in right into your Notes client. So users can leverage this right from the Notes desktop, not have to leave the Notes environment to go to, say, a separate browser window or something. And that plug-in, actually there's a couple of plug-ins, but those plug-ins allow you to, get access directly to the files from Notes, so you can drag and drop files and attachments right from the messages within email. And you can also do what we call status updates or microblogging, or maybe if you think of it as tweeting right from your Notes desktop, so everybody can see what you're working on. So it's very cool stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I'm going to switch gears for a second. I talked about in your bio at the top of the interview that you have a focus in cloud collaboration. I think a lot of admins might be nervous about moving to the cloud because they feel like their jobs will just be eliminated. What can you tell us to dispel a concern like that?
Right. And actually, that's a very understandable concern, but I can tell you with all honesty and a complete straight face, in my experience, and I've been working with this cloud stuff for, about 3 years now, I have not seen one admin let go in the process of going to the cloud as a result of that move. If anything, what we find is typically our Notes Domino customers, they run very lean in the administrative staff. It's amazing how few admins can support a large number of Notes users. And what you're essentially doing when you go to the cloud is just relieving you of the burden of dealing with the mail servers, maybe a couple of other minor infrastructure servers as well, but you still have a messaging environment that needs care and feeding. And so the administrators, if anything, might catch a little bit of a break, if you will, and able to spend more time on, helping their users. And it's also a great way to get their infrastructure up to date. And, bringing their Notes users up to the latest client releases, for example. And that really helps to add a lot of new value and let users find the most modern interface available for messaging, which actually relieves a lot of headache for our administrative friends out there. But really, to address the key concern, cloud has not been a job killer for administrative staff. If anything, admins can now find more time not only to work with the users, but also to focus on more strategic stuff in their environment as well.
Well, excellent. That's really reassuring. This has been really informative. I look forward to hearing you present in a couple weeks at the New England Lug meeting. So thank you for joining me.
Great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. If you're listening to this and you're in the New England area, please drop by the New England Lotus User Group meeting on July 23rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. As I mentioned, Joe will be giving 2 presentations, one on Sametime 852 technical deployment strategies, and a second on entitlements for Domino 853 and 9. The meeting this month is at the IBM Innovation Center on 404 Wyman Road in Waltham, Mass. For full details, check out the New England Lotus User Group page on SocialBizUserGroup.org. And speaking of that website, don't forget to check us out on SocialBizUG.org. It's the community formerly known as LotusUserGroup.org, and it's the first public community built entirely on connections, Domino, and XPages technologies. Registration and membership is completely free, and there are lots of useful information, tidbits, and support for Notes and Domino administrators and developers. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SocialBiz User Group. Thanks for listening.